Hey y'all, episode 63 of the Nashville Artist podcast is out, and it features Fauster. Fauster is an eclectic experimental artist, multi-instrumentalist, and producer. He shares how he learned musical composition at an early age by listening to music and then replicating what he hears in GarageBand to better understand song structure. Playing the computer, as he likes to call it. He's an avid fan of the 22-year-old video game Super Smash Bros. Melee, watching content on YouTube to playing it competitively online. As he says, it's like jazz. Fauster likes to make music that he wants to listen to, taking from different genres to hear the blend he wants. One of his favorite venues is the Ryman too. He recommends artists to go to shows, one for the inspiration, and two to meet people and be a part of the scene. Also, don't be afraid to reach out and set something up with people you want to work with. Influences like Miles Davis, Lil Wayne, Aphex Twin, Kanye West, Clifford Brown, Radiohead, MF Doom, and Animal Collective. Listening, you'll learn about his songwriting process, perspective, ways of making music, and much more. Enjoy. Oh, my beverages.
Beverages are a very important part of life.
Definitely.
They're a wonderful
Gotta have
thing.
my liquids. Cool. So what were you up to earlier today?
Well, I this morning actually had to do some cleaning up from last night. We filmed, like I was talking about filming in the living room. We filmed a live session performance of Lily Ophelia.
Nice.
And had it all set up. I'm starting this thing, me and my roommate, called Taped Sessions, where we just try to do really high production value live sessions so that we can take an afternoon, film it, make it look really beautiful. I record it and mix it and have it be up to professional levels, and then but we don't have to charge for it because we don't have to do a full project. It's not like I'm recording a full album or we're doing a whole music video. We're just able to get something done really quick. So we did the first one with someone else other than me last night, and it's really cool. We transformed our whole living room to look super different, and then kind of put it back together this morning.
Wow.
So,
that's really cool.
Fun. Yeah.
Getting to transform a room into a new...
Yeah.
You stepped into a new world.
That's the idea is just go on Pinterest and find something the coolest thing that we can possibly find, and being how can we with no budget make something kind of like this? You know what I mean? How can we for free basically, or for $25 make something that looks as good as this, even if it's not the same thing, But
what has been the biggest element or thing that you've used to transform a room into a...
So, I mean, a lot of it is we're lucky to have a room in our living room with just one big white wall. And so that's able to be a canvas for a lot of different stuff. We've done stuff with projecting onto it, projection mapping onto it, and stuff with just, between lights and set dressing, you can make something look like a variety of different ways. So last night we were doing projection, had a bunch of plants and a bunch of different trinkets and tarot cards all laid around in uh, her amp and her. But then, you know, we've done other things where it's like you like turn it into a completely red room and it like looks like this like blank white wall with like a red room and like a subject in the middle. It's like you can make it look a lot of different ways. And that was kind of our intention when we moved into the places, like having a modular living room where we can just like move everything in and around, turn it into a music production space if we want to, turn it into a photo studio if we want to. Unfortunately, we are in an apartment complex, so
Really?
it's like we have certain hours of the day where we're kind of like, okay, yeah, we can be loud and make stuff during like this time of the night, but we've got kind of a hard cutoff. But yeah, I mean that's something where it's like we're doing a lot of work on that now and will for the rest of this month, but nothing's really gonna come out for a while. So it's like it's hard. It's like I wish I could just show you. You know what I mean? I wish I could just be like, oh yeah, here's what we did. But yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
You don't really hear that kind of thing happening in an apartment.
yeah,
Like I didn't expect. I expected fully a house.
yeah.
When you were talking about it, and then you said apartment. Wow, it's even
Well,
more resourceful.
and it's like I do have a my my dad is a musician, and so me and my brother, who you've also interviewed,
Yeah.
Have had access to like his home studio space for a long time. And when I've done like actual recordings of bands and stuff, I've done it all there because it's like a well-treated room. It's got setups for everything. But like, I've been trying to figure out like, yeah, either how can I do it in my apartment or how can I go to where a band is and like still get a great sound and like bring all of my shit and just figure out something.
Like a little mobile kit.
So like just trying to make as much shit as possible and not let like, you know, like the fact that it might not be perfect or the fact that it might be difficult like get in the way and just be like, well, what can we do, you know?
Yeah, or money.
Yeah.
Not even letting money get in the way.
Yeah.
Like, you can figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and like hopefully, you know, we've been thinking about possibly like getting a grant for the arts for this project, which I think would be really cool. Because then it's like I don't really want to charge bands. I don't want to like exploit people who are working and making music. But if there's any way where it's like, oh yeah, this is government money for the arts. I know people who have gotten like art grants for projects, and so it's like that might be an avenue. So then we could increase the production value. But yeah, that's kind of been like the brainchild we've been working on for a while, and hopefully we've got like 2 or 3 more scheduled this month, and I'm going to try and schedule more, and then they'll start coming out.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll probably ask you more about that here in a little bit, but we'll go ahead and get started here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artist. I'm Jordan, and today Fauster is here. Thank you for coming over and doing this.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome.
Lots of fun.
So, you're from Nashville, right?
I am from Nashville.
I'm talking to your brother,
mm-hmm.
And you have other siblings as well?
Yeah, so I have one younger sibling named Mojo, and then my older brother named Julian, and we're all 3 from Nashville, although my older brother did grow up in France, which is like a whole different can of worms. But yeah, from Nashville, born and raised.
Nice. And they're also into art and music.
Yeah. It's a very musical family. It's kind of like our parents tried to talk us out of it because, as I mentioned before, my dad is a musician, and they're like, "Oh no, you guys should do something else." And we're like, "Look, I mean, there's all this cool music shit around. Like, of course I'm gonna want to do that, you know?"
Right. So, what were you into as a little kid?
So actually, the first instrument that I ever played and I ever really wanted to play was the drums, and I like when I was like 7 or 8, I like begged to play the drums, and so I got like a little shitty drum kit, like basically a toy drum kit, and then played that for a bunch of years, and then started playing trumpet in middle school, and then would also constantly badger my parents to let me borrow my dad's laptop so that I could use GarageBand on it. So I was like always being like, just trying to see if I could use GarageBand on like his computer. And so that was like kind of the beginning of everything. And then in high school, I started to more like, I got a laptop and started to like actually try and produce and like make beats and stuff and all of that different stuff. And then, yeah, it just went from there. I got really into jazz in high school, got really into rap in middle school. And then those have kind of been the biggest influences are like Southern hip hop and jazz, probably biggest influences on and then like, the more recent like hyper pop stuff. But a lot of that stuff stems from, like SoundCloud rap anyway.
Who were some of your like earliest influences or artists that you're like, I want to be like that?
I would say, okay, so the first artist that I really loved and learned all of the words to the songs was probably like Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan from when I was like a little kid and my parents gave me CDs like that and the Beatles because they just like, that's what they gave me. And I loved it. And then when I was in like, I was probably in like third or fourth grade, I like found out about Lil Wayne. And that was probably like, that was just a big deal for me. Like, the Carter 3, that whole album and like just that whole era of Lil Wayne, that was probably actually, I was in middle school by the time that came out, but I heard Lil Wayne for the first time probably third or fourth grade. And then when I was in middle school, the like proliferation of free mixtapes on like datpiff.com and like Spinrilla was another one of those websites, or like it was an app. But I listened to a bunch of just that kind of stuff. Lil Wayne, a bunch of like later in middle school, Chief Keef and Young Thug, and I was like, this is the coolest genre of music like I've ever heard. This is like, I don't think it gets enough credit for being like legitimately experimental. Like, it like, especially during that era, it's like things were changing so often, and so things were just like sounding very different from song to song and from beat to beat, and it wasn't like there was one tempo where it's like, or one production style. It's like, sure, there were cliches, but there was a lot going on that was like, it was just a really interesting time in music, and that was kind of, yeah, that was the beginning of me just like really fully falling in love with rap music. Was like late elementary school, early middle school, and then yeah, and then fell in love with jazz after that, and yeah.
What jazz artists?
So a lot, like, because I played trumpet, probably the first person I got really into was Clifford Brown. Just because like the story where he like died so young and was so incredibly talented and prolific in the time that he was alive, that was like I was just like obsessed with his writing too, because a lot of people can like solo really well or like can play really well in jazz, but like his compositions I was like really obsessed with. And then through Clifford Brown and Max Roach, those records, listened to them a bunch, and then like found Art Blakey, the Jazz Messengers, found Lee Morgan through that. was another one of my favorites for a long time. And then like when I started playing piano in my senior year of high school, I got really into like Horace Silver, Thelonious Monk, all sorts of, I'm drawing blanks now, but you know, Bill Evans, people like that, where it's just like, you know, it just seems like an impossible level of talent and skill, and like a time period in music where it's like, you know, that's just like what you did. Like you just became incredibly, incredibly, incredibly talented, and that is the way that you got your name out there. Like rather than like obviously there's still like the record companies are still fucking you. And that's been like just a thing forever, but yeah, just that that time period where like popular music that was like playing on the radio was like musically complex and cool. You know what I mean? And like showcasing skill, which is not to say anything against like current popular music, because you know, a lot of what plays on the radio is not like the worst thing in the entire world. A lot of it is the worst thing in the entire world, but I don't know. It was just like a different time, and it was really cool, and fell in love with it.
Nice. And so you started off on the drums?
Yeah, so drums, and then I like I said, I had like a little toy kit, and then when I outgrew the little toy kit, I didn't really get another drum kit. Just kind of like stopped playing drums, but sort of just had the like understanding of how to like read rhythm sheet music and like all of that stuff that carried me into playing trumpet and like making beats. And then that was like, those were my main two like musical expressions. So really like I learned how to play the computer, kind of like that was my main instrument for a long time, until like senior year of high school. Like I said, I learned piano and bass, and then those, like I probably play those more now than anything else, but still play some trumpet here and there. But it's, you know, it's like there's a lot more opportunities for me to play keyboard on somebody's record or on my record or whatever than there is for me to play trumpet or bass. You know, like I play a lot more bass because people need a bass player live, but don't necessarily always need a trumpet player.
Yeah, the trumpet, it's like you hear it and then they stand there, and then they come back in and then they stand there.
Well, and it's like I had to do the thing where it's like learn how to, you know, play something in your left hand while playing trumpet, because I was like, well, otherwise there's no reason for me to bring this thing out. If I'm like with Lily, Ophelia, I've been doing a lot of playing bass on one sound in my left hand and then playing like keys in this hand. And I was like, wait, if I can do that, like I should be able to still play bass here and do this. So, I mean, it's the type of thing where it's like the bass playing in my left hand suffers and this suffers. It's like I'm not doing 100% at both. But I was like, well, if I can get to like 90% at both, that's probably fine. But yeah,
wow.
That's been like the one place where I pull trumpet back out is like, I'm like, can I do this? That's kind of, you know.
That's awesome.
We'll see.
It's almost like playing the drums.
Yeah, it is. It literally is. It's like doing multiple things with different parts of your body.
Do you still play the drums sometimes? Or?
Me and my roommate have an E kit that is actually doesn't belong to us. It belongs to a friend, and we're borrowing it. But I'll still play it from time to time. I like try and sit down and learn how to play like a JD Beck beat or something. I've been really listening to a lot of Domi and JD Beck. That was the inspiration to like learn how to play really crazy bass in my left hand, because she does a whole lot of that. I'll try and like learn like certain songs and be like, oh, this thing from this jazz song is really difficult. I wonder if I can learn it, and then I can't. You know what I mean? I just sit there and like I can get it at like 50 BPM or something, but it's like just to keep the
Right.
I would never like be a session drummer or play in a band, but um, it's fun.
Just to kind of give you that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to like, I don't know, keep the neurons firing.
Right.
Like, it's just, sometimes it's fun to wake up and be like, I don't want to play the thing that I play every day today. I want to learn something new and suck at it.
Yeah, have the beginner's mindset.
Yeah.
Again.
And then be like, man, I hate sucking. I'm going to go play the thing I'm good at.
Yeah, it gives you new appreciation.
Yeah, it really does.
So, why would you say you're drawn to music?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it, I mean, it was just everywhere growing up. Like during the summer, my parents would do like a music history class for us. Like my mom was a music journalist, and that's how she met my dad, was being a music journalist. And so she would like write out this curriculum of like music history and like appreciation, and a lot of it was just listening, but a lot of it was like, oh, here are like blah blah blah, here are like all these people, here's the sort of like lineage of how you get from whatever, Woody Guthrie to Bob Dylan to like whoever. It's like that sort of um like idea of looking at music as like a family tree almost, and like a history and a lineage. And that had a really big effect on the way that I listened to music, like just throughout my life. Can't thank my parents enough for that. They're awesome. I love them. And then, yeah, just growing up in Nashville and it being everywhere. And also it being like, I don't know, it just felt right. It's like when I started making music, it was like, oh, this is a way for me to express myself that like makes sense to my brain. And like a lot of times when things just sort of click with my brain, I'm like, okay, well then I should just, it's like feedback loop. You just sort of like keep going with it because you're like, oh, well, I understand how this works, like kind of intuitively. And then the parts that I don't understand, I'm excited to learn about. So then you learn more and then you intuitively understand more, but then there's even more that you don't understand because you didn't realize how much there was when you first looked at it. So just stuff like that.
Nice.
I guess that doesn't really answer the question, but
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, learning the lineage thing. Whenever you listen to music, you're like, wow, they're influenced by this person, this person. You can like hear who they were listening to.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like not even, people don't even know. Like sometimes I'll hear someone and I'll be like, whoa, do you listen to this person? I'll like name like an influential person that they sound like, and they're like, nope. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I guess it just like ambiently seeped into them from other sources, or maybe they were listening to someone that they were inspired by or something.
Maybe it played on the radio and they didn't know what it was. And
Yeah,
it still got in their subconscious.
Yeah,
because like it's always fun to like, wow, I really like this music.
Yeah.
Who did these people? Who are they obsessed with? Then you go study that, and then you listen to the music again, and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, because you kind of you get like a different understanding.
Yeah, and like figure out what they were drawing from, and like
well, that's the thing I was talking about earlier with like cliches, where it's like, those are important as musical motifs because they like point to that lineage. You know what I mean? Like they point to something that that is older and has been around for longer than the actual work itself.
Right. So, like of all time, who are your favorite artists?
Wow. I probably should have prepared for that question. That is a hard one.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, I think of all time, so it's really difficult because I think that like I could probably name my favorite works of all time because I think that's a very different question. Like, I don't think my favorite artists of all time have made my favorite works of all time.
Okay.
For instance, I would probably put like easily in the top 5 recorded albums of music ever. I would put To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. But I don't think it's because necessarily Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest artists of all time. I think it's like due to a lot. I mean, obviously he's an incredibly talented human being, but it's also like he got some of my favorite musicians, like contemporary jazz musicians, and an incredible producer, and when you have like that myriad of talented people and there's something really special and they're working on something that is meaningful, something magic came from that. And it's like, I think about a lot of stuff like Mama's Gun by Erykah Badu, is like a very similar thing to that, like all that Soulquarian stuff from that time period, the D'Angelo and Common records from that time period as well. It's like the same band playing on it. And that's like just a really special thing, but it's not necessarily like Erykah Badu might be one of my favorite artists of all time, but I don't know. It's like, it's hard because then I want to be like, oh, well, okay, Miles Davis is probably my favorite artist of all time. If you like consider the depth of work and the amount of genres that he, if you don't want to say pioneered, that's fine, but definitely like changed and left his mark on. But I mean, I would definitely say he pioneered like fusion and cool jazz. It's like just a myriad of insane, like it's just the most insane career of all time. It's like you can't, I found out the other day, this is so off topic. I found out the other day that Miles Davis wrote Donna Lee, the Charlie Parker song, which is like a really old bebop song. It's like from when the recording sounded like, you know what I mean? It's like a classic bebop song, like 40s. And the fact that he wrote that when he was that young and like went from that era of jazz music to like, you know, making On the Corner or like Bitches Brew, On the Corner, all of that era, is like where he's like playing with pedals and shit and like playing trumpet into like pitch shifting pedals and like different envelope filters and stuff. It's like that is, and that he was at the top and the forefront and the cutting edge of every subgenre of jazz every time, and like working with the youngest and newest talent because he saw something in them before other people did, with Bill Evans and with Wayne Shorter and with all of that shit, is like, yeah, I don't feel like we've seen another person like that. If you'd asked me this question when I was in high school, I would have said Kanye West, but it's like, I don't know. That's a difficult conversation because of all of the other stuff. But
yeah,
hard. But
like the art,
yeah,
music,
yeah, because his especially like the albums up until a point are so good. They're just so good. But I'm not gonna get into the reasons why I don't really listen to Kanye West anymore.
Yeah, everyone understands that. So, I guess how do you develop your artistic skills now? Do you have routines, or like do you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I still, I've been trying to play piano every day for a while, and for a long time that just meant like just playing it. But I've been trying to do more like when I pick it up to like skill build and learn something new. So I guess that is like a routine. But I mean, when I was first like really getting into producing, I had a routine of like um, I would listen to a song and then try and recreate it.
Oh.
And that was like a, because I just read somewhere that you should do it. And then when I started doing it, I realized like, oh, I'm able to, like, I'm able to hear what I want to add and then add it because I've done the work of like listening to something and being like, how did they make that? And trying to make it and doing that over and over. So like when I was like 15 and 16, I just did that constantly with whatever beats I found from SoundCloud or like songs that I really liked off of Pandora or whatever. And then, oh, I hit that. Sorry. Now I don't do that as much, which I probably could still stand to do it because it's like a helpful practice. But I guess the majority of my routine as of recently has been like more of a spiritual and meditative and self care routine where it's like, I'm like, okay, if I can take care of this, then I can make art. Like, I will have time to make art and I will have the ability and the energy to make art if I'm taking care of myself. Because I used to just um, make a bunch of art in like a 3-month period and make like a year's worth of art in a 3-month period and then not make anything for a while after that because I was not sleeping during those 3 months, or you know what I mean, like was just pushing myself really hard. And so now I'm trying to like be more intentional about taking care of myself and hoping that stuff comes with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing piano every day is still something I try to do. I don't necessarily get it every day, but it's meditative. It helps.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, how did your song "Wide Awake" come about?
That one. So that one, um, you mean insofar as, okay, I'll give two answers. One, the production side of it, it's a series of voice memos from a time period when I was doing a lot of traveling back and forth between Nashville and Chattanooga um, to play shows and to uh, make art with my current roommate, Olin, who lived in Chattanooga during the time. And also my girlfriend's sister lived in Chattanooga. Um, and so we would just go back and forth all the time. Also, my girlfriend's sister, Adia, is dating my current roommate, Olin. So it's a whole web. But anyway, it's like a series of voice memos. Like the opening synth is actually a voice memo that I just threw a bunch of distortion and compression on. And like all the guitars are voice memos. And then I, when I wrote it, I kind of wanted to emulate the feeling of like kind of starting to freak out and starting to freak out more and more, and then getting to a place of like really complete acceptance. And then this like, sometimes if I'm like building up that anxiety, but then I'm like, okay, now I'm good, then I'll have this like really crazy explosion of everything's happening all at once, and it's not bad, but it's just like crazy. And so the song starts at like I think it starts at like 130 or 150 BPM, and then like over the course of the first verse speeds up to like 180. So that was like a thing that I wanted to do, where I was like, I want to write this verse in a way where the actual cadence speeds up. And so I just walked around and like tried to write something where I'm like starting slower, and then by the time I'm at the end of the verse into the chorus, I'm like faster. Because it was just an idea that I had of wanting to do that. And then I wrote the first verse just driving around, and then I had the first verse recorded and the hook recorded for a long time. And then I do this a lot, where like the second verse couldn't exist until after I had finished the song almost, or like the rest of the words weren't able to come until I had recorded everything else and then lived a little bit more life and then added onto it. But yeah, kind of how it came about, and then went back to Chattanooga to shoot the video with Olin. And
What, his name's Oland?
Olin, O''Len. Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, y'all should follow him on Instagram at OLEN. He's a very talented videographer and photographer, and we have a lot of work coming. So
sick.
That creative partnership has been like just really awesome, and living together has been awesome.
Awesome. So like when I listened to your song called Follow the Leader, I was definitely getting some like Aphex Twin vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. So like my brother introduced me to like Aphex Twin and MF Doom probably when I was like 12 years old. Because like that and like Radiohead. Because he was like, oh yeah, look, this shit's really cool, right? And he's like 8 years older than me. So I might have been even younger. But it's so funny because yeah, I just remember being like already into Animal Collective or already into like Aphex Twin or MF Doom when my friends were finding out about it. And I was like, oh yeah, like I thought everyone just knew about that, but it's just because I had like a badass older brother. And then, yeah, it's like definitely I've been making drum and bass and like quote unquote IDM. I guess they call it breakcore now. It's like there's so many different names. But I've been making drum and bass and like jungle since I was probably around that time period. Just yeah, like I used to really make mostly just electronic music and like rap beats, and that was the only thing I made. And then now I guess the music that I make is like a combination of those. So yeah, I guess all of those shitty drum and bass songs I made when I was 14 ended up like being useful.
Awesome. So what would you say inspires your creativity?
I don't know. I think that there's like some aspect of it where it's like can't really fully take like individual personal credit for everything, because like so much of what I do is just being inspired by other people and being like, well, wait, what if you did that thing but differently? Like, or what if these two elements were combined, or what if, you know what I mean? So it's like that, and then also like I do think that there's like I don't know, I think that creative energy comes from the same ethereal place as like intelligent thought, where it's like it's kind of not possible to scientifically explain why we have like self-conception, you know what I mean? But we do, and it is just there. So whatever you want to call it, like there's something happening there, or it feels like it, at least to me. So I think that it's just like your life experiences are going to color the way that that energy flows through you, but that if like everybody is able to conduct, like be a conduit of that in some different way, and like the way that, you know, if you asked like John Coltrane or like Beethoven what that energy flowing through them was, they'd say it was God. But like it's just there's some amount of something that everyone is able to tap into, like collective consciousness, something. And yeah, the way that it works for me is like seems to be like weird audio collages of a bunch of different genres and a bunch of different things that I'm inspired by. And than just writing about personal experiences.
Yeah, that was a very eloquent way to put that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, collective consciousness, because like I've learned recently that you are not your mind.
Yeah.
It is a tool within yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because like for a while, it's so easy to associate everything you do with yourself.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of that was carried out by your mind.
Yeah.
And your mind is not creative.
Yeah.
Creativity comes from something else.
Yeah. And if
above you.
Yeah.
Above your mind.
Yeah.
But your mind doesn't want you to think that because it wants to be in control.
Yeah. It's like your ego has to hold on to
something,
what it can. And so then it's
to make itself real.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, but my mind helped me figure that out. And it's like, but it's a tool. It's not you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, if you, what's the saying? Oh my gosh. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Type of thing where it's like, it's a tool that can help you, for instance, do math or something.
Exactly.
But it's like, if you are treating every single thing that you come across as like a puzzle to be solved with the tool of your mind, then, I don't know. I've learned that sometimes just sitting there in silence and observing what you think is really good. And it's crazy how everyone says that. It's crazy how like every single spiritual leader since the beginning of time is like, oh, it's really good sometimes to like sit there and be silent, like whether it's prayer or meditation or whatever. It's like humans have known that for a long time. I think the phone makes it hard.
Yeah. We could derive our sense of self from so much stuff that's outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
When it's not even real.
Yeah, not at all.
And it's like, your mind. Yeah, I've learned, like, you can't, problems of the mind cannot be solved with the mind.
Yeah.
If there's a mind problem, well, then you have to use something else to solve it. You can't use your mind because your mind will just come through the back door and create another meaning out of you trying to make meaning of your mind.
Yeah. You're just stuck.
And you keep getting stuck. And I'm like, wow, you gotta like just be conscious and like in presence at one and not judge anything that your mind comes up with.
Just observe it.
Observe it. Because as soon as you judge it, that's the mind coming back through. Yeah, it's been something I've been focusing on lately, and it's just mind-blowing.
There's a great book that I recommend to everyone called The Power of Now.
That's what I'm reading right now.
It's really good.
Yeah, dude. I'm trying to I'm on my fourth read of that. I'm trying to just read it over and I'm trying to get to like 10, 15 reads. Yeah. So that way it becomes so intuitive. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where it's like, it's like just having moments like that where you like you just look at everything differently. And like, that's such a powerful, like, it's just like it's crazy to think that like you can go your whole life not being exposed to certain information, and then the moment that you're like, oh, my entire life has changed. Like,
right.
Wild.
And then you also are like, but it's not that big of a deal because it's always been here.
Oh yeah.
So like your realization of it is just your ego like being like, wow, it's gonna change my life. Yeah. It's like, it's not even that.
But it's
innate. It's already in you. Like, like when he talks about oh God, what does he say? He's like, if there's a fish and we name it John, and we write out a birth certificate of it, and we tell about its life and its family history, and then it gets like 5 minutes later gets eaten by another fish, that's tragedy. Yeah. But it's only tragedy because we tied meaning to something.
Yeah. That happens.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
There was, like you were saying about, not to just turn this into no longer being a podcast about art, but
read Eckhart Tolle.
There was a thing that you said about like, it's like always been there, but you just like weren't able to access it or realize it because of like the mind and the ego. I'm not a Muslim nor a follower of Islam, but there is like something that they say where like they don't call people who become Muslim, they don't call them converts, they call them reverts, because they believe that like all souls before they came to their corporeal form were witnesses to like God, to Allah, and were there already. And so if you are switching to the religion, you're actually just reverting back to the way that you were. And there is like, what I take from that is just that like, yeah, when you begin to like realize these things about yourself and life, and like things that like life, not just in the human sense, but like everything around us. It's like when you sort of have those moments of like realization, it's like almost like, well, I feel like deep down I already knew this. Like I'm just remembering almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like going back to something that was more real and true before like I learned all of these words for what there is around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, when I first read it, I was like intimidated when he was like, you know, you are not your accomplishments, you are not your mind, you are not, because like, you're like all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, I did accomplish that.
yeah.
And it's like, that's your mind trying to attach meaning to something outside of you. When you are just, we're all one subconsciousness, subjectively living through ourselves. So when you say to yourself, I love myself, you're creating two.
Yeah.
When you're just one, but there's a separation because you have to identify with something outside of yourself. So you think, so you can make existence of yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, geez.
It's the also it's the kind of thing where it's like it's a lifelong.
It is, dude.
It's like
this is gonna take a while to get like in bedrock.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, yeah, it's like you can believe all of that stuff, and then you have a really stressful day, and
exactly,
and you're just like in stress all day, and it's like,
dude,
it's crazy how
when I'm in traffic, I have to like watch myself, because all of a sudden my subconsciousness would be like, screw these people, like what? And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's like my just knee-jerk subconscious reaction, trying to like defend my ego to say that these people have wronged me.
When they're just sitting in the same traffic that I am.
Exactly, And
or like, the whole thing of like, if someone cuts you off, like, you never know, they might be rushing to the hospital or something type of thing, where it's like,
I have compassion and empathy.
Yeah. Because even if they're not, you'll live a happier life if you...
letting it go. Like, well, maybe, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Whatever.
I think I did that too hard.
Okay, cool. Back to
music.
So what would you say are your strengths and weaknesses as an artist?
So I have been thinking about this a lot recently. And I think it's because I try to surround myself with really great writers. So I'm going to start with weaknesses. But I mostly only write from a very personal point of view, and a lot of the like things that I write either are like have the word I or me in them, like as the subject, you know what I mean? I've just been looking back at a lot of stuff, and I'm like, all of this stuff is like very first person, very like literal, and you know, I do still think that there's room within that style of writing that I've kind of built to be like really expressive and go beyond that first reading of it, which is what I've tried to do. But I still, I don't know. I like, you'll hear a song, excuse me. you'll hear a song written by someone who's an excellent storyteller, and it's able to like go through this entire range of emotions. Or you'll hear a song from someone who's like an excellent poet, and they're kind of removed from the from being the subject. And I have not necessarily strengthened those aspects of my writing as much. So a lot of it is just autobiographical, and it's still artistic, but it's autobiographical. And so I think that's probably a thing that I would identify as a weakness. And then I would say my strengths are my willingness to be bad at something, and understand that I am bad at something and that that is okay. Because I think that I would not be as good as I am at certain things if I had not allowed myself to be bad first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really awesome. So you haven't, I guess, lived anywhere else, or have you?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've lived like in different places throughout Nashville, but always in Nashville.
So, like, what would you say has kept you here?
Family for sure. And then, well, okay, actually, I take it back. Forgot about this. I did live in Clarksville for 2 months. When I graduated high school, I went to Austin P in Clarksville because I knew that I could go there for free. I got into their music program and got like scholarships through their music program. And so I was going to Austin P for free. And I was like, if I go to college, I don't want to go into debt. I want to go for music, and I want to go a place that's like relatively close to home. So I was like, this is the best of all of those things. Except that my dorm room was living in black mold, or like I had black mold all in my dorm room, and like underneath my mattress, I found out, like, I pulled my mattress out and I was like, oh, there's black mold all underneath this mattress. And also I was like constantly, like, I was skipping class to make music in my room, and I was like, like they forced me to be in marching band when I just wanted to be in the jazz band. They forced me to take music theory 1 when I had to take 2 years of music theory at the arts high school that I went to in Nashville. So I like could have taught music theory 1, but they forced me to take it anyway because they didn't care. And so I was just like, wait a second. If all I really care about is making music, why would I live in Clarksville? You know what I mean? Why would I move away from the place I was living in Nashville where I could make music and be surrounded by musicians? And so I came back to Nashville and went to the Blackbird Academy program, which is like a recording engineering school here in town at Blackbird Studios, which is John McBride and Martine McBride's studio. And it's, I mean, I can't recommend it enough to people who want to be like engineers or producers. It's like I can work in any studio, you know, like I can just go there and know how to set anything up because of the skills that I was taught. And it was a much shorter and cheaper program than a 4-year degree. And I mean, it's still like relatively expensive, but definitely cheaper than college. And yeah, I was like, why would I be anywhere else than here? You know, if I want to make music. So I might not be in Nashville for my whole life, but I also, I mean, the thing is, whenever I've like toured or like traveled, it's like, you know, you go to New York and you're like, oh, New York's a lot of fun. There's no mountains. Like, there are trees and little things, or like you can go to a park and see trees, but the parks are dirty and they smell bad. And it's not like, you know, where I live right now, I can drive 20 minutes and be in the mountains. Like I can drive 30 minutes and be completely out of where I even will see another person. If I drive an hour, I'm like completely off grid, and like being able to just take a 15-20 minute drive and be like at wherever, at Percy Warner or whatever. It's like, sure, I might still hear the interstate if I like am really quiet, but I'm like in the middle of actual nature. And that's something that I haven't found in a lot of the other places that have interesting musical scenes to me. Or like places where I could make money as a working musician. Because like all of those places are cities, and Nashville is a city, but it's just closer to outside, and I like outside a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I was going to ask you this earlier, but I forgot. How would you best describe the type of artist you are?
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. Probably like, I would say eclectic or like experimental. Those are the things that I'm normally drawn to. Um, uh, when I started making music, I just wanted to make music that I wanted to listen to. Um, and I was like, I listen to all this stuff, but there's not something that combines all this stuff. So then it's like, that's what I wanted to make. So I would say like eclectic seems best description, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like that answer might change later in life, you know?
Sure. Leave it open-ended.
Yeah. I've been trying to work more with other people and make what I like to call real music, because a lot of what I make is imaginary music. And I feel like when I collaborate with other people, I can kind of like let my instincts to take everything to extremes and to take everything in different weird directions, I can let those take back seat and just focus on facilitating the act of production and music making for other people. And so that's been cool recently to just like produce records for other people, and I don't have to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, because they have a vision. I'm just helping facilitate it and bring it to life.
Nice. So this might be hard to answer since you've lived here most of your life, but what would you say is something you've learned living here?
Nashville. I would say probably, I mean, just the fact that like it's possible to do it, you know, is like been a big deal. It's possible to make a living as an artist. It's possible to um, make art even if you're not making a living. It's possible to put on shows in your basement. It's possible to like uh, start a band and start multiple bands and write as many songs as you can. And it's because I just have seen everyone around me do it my whole life. It's like kind of get to be a little bit more um, like receptive to the fact that those things are real and possible. Whereas like I feel like if you live in a town that has maybe one recording studio and like maybe one band, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I want to play music, but whatever, I just play a guitar in my room because I don't know anyone else who plays music, or you know what I mean? It's like it's like a lot. I say, yeah, it's like a lot easier to envision those things when you've seen it growing up your whole life as like very real and concrete in front of you. So
Yeah.
that's probably the most that I've learned.
Do you have a favorite venue here?
I would say my favorite venue right now is honestly Ryman 2. The Ryman 2. No one is doing it like them. Shout out out to those people. It's all love. They're great group of musicians. And it's just some of the most artful house shows I've seen in a long time. But other than that, I would say I love Dark Matter. I love Random Sample. They've been, whenever I play a show there, me and my friends will call it like a home game. You know what I mean? It's like just been a part of the scene for so long, and those places have meant a lot to Nashville music. And then, I love the Basement as well, OG Basement. And I'm trying to think of other places. Vinyl Tap is a wonderful, wonderful venue. Put on great shows, and it's a lovely vibe in there too.
How do you like the Blue Room?
Oh, I love the Blue Room. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like almost doesn't, it feels like it's on a different level, despite the fact that they do book a lot of like DIY bands, and like local acts, but for some reason it feels like it's on like a higher level to me, because it's so cool in there. But yeah, that's one of those places where it's like just surreal, and yeah.
So what is some advice you'd give to someone who's going to move here and do art or music?
That's a good question. I would say the main thing to do is, well, number one, best advice is go to shows. Because I can't count the amount of times that I've gone to a show and been like incredibly, incredibly inspired, and went home and made art either later that day or the next day or whatever. So yeah, just going to experience and be a part of the scene. It's always super great. And then also, just not being afraid to reach out and schedule and set something up with people that you want to work with, because it's kind of like, either you get ignored, or they're like no, or they like quote you a budget where they're like, I can't do it, sorry, I need to get paid for my time, which is understandable. But it's like in any of those situations, like, that's fine. There's a million fucking people in this city. It's like, it's okay if you can't work with somebody. But I, for a long time, just wouldn't DM people, or like I just wouldn't put anything out, or I would wait too long to put stuff out, or I would work too long on something to make sure it was perfect. And I think for any artist, it's kind of important to just be done with something and be like, okay, well, if I want this to be better, I'll just do a better job on the next thing I make. Like, the next time I make something, I'll take what I learned from this and make something even better. But I don't have to like kill myself making this perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. It's just going to be due, it's just like eventually I have to put it out.
Right.
And then once you put it out, it's done by the fact that you put it out. So yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out to people, and don't be afraid to put your stuff out there, even if it's not perfect.
Very cool. So reflecting back on when you first started as an artist, what is some of the, like, one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome, and how did you get through it?
Well, so I think big challenge with my early art was, like I said, like feeling the need to be completely perfect in anything that I put out. And then also like not really being able to be, like I said, a lot of my writing style is like very autobiographical, but I was not like fully honest with myself or with the people around me about like who I was during that time period in my life. And so the work suffered, I think, because of that. Because it's like if you don't understand yourself, it's like how are you going to be able to write about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think self-discovery, self-acceptance have gone hand in hand for me and have been like the biggest change and like turning point in my art, like becoming something that I'm much more proud of now than I used to be.
Nice. What would you say is your biggest personal growth from last year to this year?
Oh, I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking and I stopped using unhealthy coping mechanisms in general. Actually, this month, it has been 1 year since I've been sober.
Nice.
So that it's been a huge thing for me because I was kind of like using a bunch of different things, both substances and, like I said, like coping mechanisms that were unhealthy. And because of that, I was unable to like communicate with the people around me and unable to like properly take care of myself. And so, yeah, I've just been working on that. And that has been a huge change. Like, can't even describe how much my life has changed since then, you know?
Wow, that's awesome. So how can people support you as an artist?
How can people support me as an artist? Well, one thing that you can do is enjoy and listen to the music that I make, and tell your friends about it, and uh, also just like energetically feel good while you're listening to it, because I'll probably feel it some way or another. And then I guess also, so like I said, I'm doing these taped sessions, and starting next month, I'm going to be starting a Patreon for it. So it might not be that anyone cares, but the idea is like being able to give really great and talented bands and artists that I want to record very high quality content without me having to be like, because I can't record a record for free. I just can't do it. But I can do that for free. But if you want to help facilitate those things being better, then you could become a patron for that. But it's not up yet. So once that's up, it will be on the Instagram account at taped.sessions. And you can find everything there. Probably, actually, I think the first video for Taped is going to drop this month on, I believe, the 16th. And that one will actually be a live performance of my song Follow the Leader.
Okay, sick.
But in a completely different live arrangement. And like I said, filmed and edited by me and Olin. And then after that, we're just going to be rolling out a bunch of other artists and a bunch of, talented local Nashville people who deserve to have spotlights on them. And excited for it.
Awesome. Okay. So how do you like to consume media? Do you have favorite YouTube videos?
I do. So I watch probably a little bit too much YouTube. And
What do you like to watch on YouTube?
I this is embarrassing, but I watch a lot of like gaming content on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I'm really I watch a lot of gaming content and a lot of chess content. I play a lot, probably too much, of one particular video game, which is the um, the version of Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo GameCube, called Melee, which is the more mechanically dense and complex game than any of the sequels afterwards. And so, because of that, it's still played competitively. I watch a lot of content related to that. That game, it's like not a video game. It's like jazz. I'm not going to get into it. That's like a meme within the community, is that it's like jazz. I'm not going to get into it. It's like a whole different thing. But I watch a lot of content related to that and to chess because I really love that game. I got into that over the pandemic. It's probably the best video game they ever invented. Can't believe they put it on your phone. You know what I mean? Like, I'd never used to like that game growing up, and then they turned it into a little video game that I can play on my phone, and it's so much fun. And then I mean, I watch like constantly, like the Tiny Desk stuff and like a lot of music related stuff as well. But when I'm eating or something, a lot of times I'll like just throw on a YouTube video about something. Just gaming. Yeah, just video games.
Do you have any other favorite video games?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the game that I play the most, although I do watch a good amount of content related to like speedrunning. So like just the act of people breaking a game down to be as fast as they possibly can. And so I'll watch that for games that I don't necessarily play. Because I think it's a really interesting like human phenomenon that people like, especially for older games, because they've been so like broken down to their complete components, like people scrolling through the code and stuff just to find ways to save like a millisecond on each level, is like there's like a really crazy sense of community and also of like individual accomplishment, and it's very cool. There's a person named Summoning Salt who makes world record speedrunning history videos. They're kind of told as like an oral history of the speedrunning of a certain game. So it will start at like in 2004, this game came out, and people uploaded like shitty videos to YouTube of them recording on their TV and getting like this time. And then it goes through that all the way into the present of like every single person who was influential in bringing the time down, and every person who's like, who was like had a historic run and like all of that stuff. They're really well paced and like it's great storytelling. And so it's like, yeah, stuff like that. I just get a kick out of, because it's like it's not just about like, wow, this video game looks so cool and has great graphics. It's like this community of people spent hours on a hobby that most people would think is stupid, but it means everything to them. And I think that's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything you would like to add that I might not have asked you about?
Oh, I'm probably dropping an album at the end of this month, but I might not. It might be next month, but it might be the end of this month. And it's got a bunch of stuff that is the best work I've ever done. And that's always a good feeling. And you're like, oh, my next work is my best work. That's fun. So yeah, be on the lookout for that if anybody cares. But I think that's probably it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
What is something absurd you love or do?
Something absurd that I love or do. I think it probably is playing 22-year-old video game with a bunch of like custom skins that I downloaded from the internet to make it look like, you know, Falco has a AK-47 or something, and long baggy pants and like a cool jacket. You know what I mean? I think it probably is like meticulously practicing combos so that I can post clips in like a Discord channel. It's like, I think probably something that people would not expect from me or my music, that like I like care a little bit too much about the competitive scene of one video game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for coming over and doing this.
Thank you for talking to me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been incredible.
Awesome.